The Humiliation of a Brown Child in a European School by Kamala from My Story. When I was a little child growing up in Calcutta, the British still ruled India. But in good society, they behaved like our equals. In good society, in the sense, in well to do, affluent, or amidst well to do people, the British, even though they were the rulers during that time, they maintained a good relationship with Indians of equal status. It was normal for a British family to have one or two close friends among the Indians with whom they were on visiting terms. So, it was quite normal for the British rulers or the British people to have friends amidst Indians who shared the same class or Indians from the same class. And they paid visit to the Indian families also. My father's superior, higher officer, at that time was a balding in the sense losing one's hair, going bald, an aged person, probably. Red-faced gentleman, red-faced again, having red color or red skin color, rosy skinned gentleman named Rose. So, father's superior was a man named Mr. Rose, who called my father my good friend Nair whenever he came to our house, thrilling all of us to our very bones. To thrill to the very bones means causing excitement, pleasure, bringing much happiness and excitement in the people. When we went once to Malabar, as you know, Malabar is the native place of the writer, and at present, while she wrote this, she was living in Calcutta, and during vacation they visited Malabar. For a month's stay with my grandmother, we lent our cook to Mrs. Rose so that she might teach him the rudiments of European cookery. So, when they went to Malabar for vacation, they lent is to exchange or to give for a short time. They gave their cook to Mrs. Rose, her father's superior's wife, so that she might teach him the rudiments of European cookery. Rudiments, the basics, the primary ideas related to cooking, European cooking. With every vacation that we took, our cook advanced more and more in the culinary arts until our eating habits had to be altered to suit his sophistication. So, after every vacation they took, the cook learned more and more European culinary arts, European cookery. Culinary means something related to cooking, and so much so that the eating habits of the children had to be changed, altered, in order to match the modern, the European cooking styles and eating mannerisms that their cook learned. Sophistication, meaning the urban in outlook and modernity, the modern way, mannerisms. Okay. Instead of the rice and curry, he served as soups, cutlets, and a stew. For my mother, he cooked a plate of rice and lentils, dried grains, pulses, etc. Lentils, dried pulses, because he felt it was too late to change her taste. So, the eating habits or the diet of the children and their father changed because the cook altered it to suit his civility, to suit his sophistication, but not their mother's cooking habits or eating habits. She was served rice and lentils because the cook thought that it was too late to bring about a change in the taste or the diet of their mother. My father ate with a fork and knife like the Europeans. The children, my elder brother and I, eating early and unsupervised. Unsupervised, not watched over or not taken care of, not given any instructions as how to eat or what to eat, etc. Ate Western meals with our little brown fingers. So instead of a fork and knife, with which they should eat the Western meals, they took it with their the fingers, brown fingers, licking their hands, enjoying all that was served on the plates while the cook stood by frowning, an expression of displeasure, as shown in the picture there, frowning. So the cook was totally surprised and shocked to see the kids eating the Western meal, the Western food served with their hands, licking in a very unsophisticated manner, which was not the practice of the Western people. He thought us savage. Savage meaning uncivil or violent, not sophisticated or modern, not having modern outlook. Since they ate their food, the whole food served with their fingers instead of the fork and knife, cook thought them as savage. My father was always busy with his work at the automobile firm where he was employed, selling Rolls Royce, Humpers and Bentleys to the Indian princes and their relatives. So Mr. Nair, Kamala's father, worked at an automobile firm at Calcutta, which sold Rolls Royce, Humpers and Bentleys, high-end cars to the Indian princes and their relatives. And her mother, vague and indifferent, spent her time lying on her stomach on a large four-post bed, composing poems in Malayalam. So Kamala's mother, Balamani Amma, she's a renowned poetess of Malayalam literature. See, Kamala Das and her mother, Balamani Amma. So, to the child, Kamala Das, she was a vague in the sense uncertain in her attitudes and indifferent again, showing lack of interest and uncertainty, lack of focus. My mother, vague and indifferent, spent her time lying on her stomach on a large four-post bed, composing poems in Malayalam. We had no full-time maid at that time. Maid, an assistant or a servant, a helper. The cook took us to the European school a furlong away and brought us back in the afternoon. So it was the cook who did all sorts of work there. He took them to the European school, which was situated some 8 miles away from their house, and brought us back in the afternoon. He was not of an affectionate nature. So the cook, he was not fond of the students or never showed a sense of love or care for these children. He just took them to school, brought them back, served them food, was mechanical, indifferent. So we grew up more or less neglected. So father was a very busy uh, person. Mother always vague and indifferent, composing poems. No maid to take care of these children. Cook was again unaffectionate, and so these kids, more or less, they grew up as neglected children. And because we were aware of ourselves as neglected children in a social circle that pampered the young, pampered to show over much attention, to give over much love and focus, and so ultimately spoil. So they observed that the kids around them were all given much care and attention, love, unlike these two. So they were aware of their uh, loveless condition or ambience, and so they cultivated a sense of bond between themselves. They are developed between us, between the two of them, the brother and sister, a strong relationship of love. And this bond she compares to the kind of bond a leper may feel for his mate. A leper is a person suffering from leprosy, a bacterial infection, and his mate companion, who takes care of the leper because he is not capable of doing, he will not be capable of doing things on his own. So the dependency, the cooperation, the love and dependency that a leper felt towards his mate, who pushed him on a hand cart when they went on their begging rounds. So a beggar leper's dependency towards his mate who carried him on his hand cart. This was the sort of bond and love and cooperation, dependency, a feeling that these two children developed between themselves.